discussing
What's up, Henry?
Toby Garcia. We were discussing Toby Garcia and binoculars is what that conversation was about.
All right, guys. You know, one last chance, right, to get it right. One last chance to win a game. There's a lot riding on this game. You know, you always kind of think, you know, what's the motivation? Big picture. There's a lot of motivation for this game. You know, I go back, not that it's exactly comparable, but 2014, during that season, we beat New Mexico State. We beat UTSA in the Alamo Dome. Alamo Dome?
Yeah.
Yeah, beat UTSA in the Alamo Dome. We beat UNLV at UNLV, and we were 3-8 with Wyoming the next game. Back in 2014, that eighth loss, the week before Wyoming, was at Colorado State. Colorado State was a 10-2 team, and they beat us up there. They had almost 700 yards offense. We had 300. I told this story earlier in the week. You know, it was 58-20 with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. 58-20. We're moving the ball a little bit. Lamar Jordan throws an interception at about their 35. We're moving it down. The kid intercepts it, has a clear path to the goal line. He's going to score to make it 65. But a kid named Tyler Duncan, 2-year guy here, was a senior, tracked him down at the 8-yard line, which was a great sign to me of our team. And then it was first and goal at the 8, 2 minutes left. They ran the ball 4 straight times. They didn't take a knee. We were able to stop them. And nobody else probably in America thought much about it, but I did. And then this next week, coming home against Wyoming, I remember like it was yesterday. You know, beautiful day, like I think it's going to be Saturday. Heck of a game, back and forth. They get the ball first and goal, I think, on the 5 or 6 yard line at the end of the game after we'd kind of led the game. They had a quarterback that played. We didn't think was going to play because of an ankle, came out there and put on a show. But first and goal on the 5. They throw it 5 straight times. We all out blitz every time. We got a kid named Donnie Duncan, senior, been through a lot. He makes 4 straight plays on the goal line. We win the game to end up 4-8. I remember walking off the field with Lamar Bratton, a 50-year senior who played that game with a toe that most guys, I mean, he couldn't even walk on the toe, played the game. But that was a big, big win for us to make us 4-8. And we won 7 the next year, won 9 the next year. But I go back to Tyler Duncan up at Colorado Springs when it's 58-20, tracking a guy down when it mattered to nobody, but it mattered to us. So the point is we've got a lot to play for this week. We've got 22 seniors, 14 of which have already graduated or will graduate here this semester, December semester. Guys that have had tremendous journeys here. You know, some guys 5 years, like Bijan, Aaron Jenkins. Some guys 4 years. Some guys 2 years. You know, some of the 2-year guys, Burrell, Schuler, Ross, Conyers. It hasn't gone as well as far as rewards. But that doesn't take away the significance of their contributions. And we have one more chance, getting back to my original statement, with this team. We have one chance left with this team. Wyoming has a lot to play for, which I think even makes it a better opportunity and a better game. You know, they have a bowl game riding on this. This is our bowl game. So it's a big game. Wyoming, they've done a great job. You know, I've watched their improvement. I've watched their development. You know, we had beat them a few straight times, went up there last year and just got overwhelmed. I turned the ball over 7 times, I think 5 times in the first half, 7 times in one game. Their front is impressive. Their front is impressive. They've not only recruited guys with length and size, more importantly, they've developed those guys. They have developed those guys, and I'm impressed with that. Their safety 28, I think, has kind of been the cornerstone of their turnaround on defense. You know, I remember watching him as a freshman, and I've seen him each year. But he's the kind of guy that you could build it around, and they have built their defense around that. So I give them a lot of credit. Craig Bull is coming in there and put an identity on it. They have made a commitment to it from a developmental standpoint. Offensively, you know, they started 18 early in the year. Reminds you of the first-round draft pick in a lot of ways. Size, arm strength, is mobile. They made the move to number 12 midway through the year, became a little bit more, although they've already had it, of a quarterback run, power read, toss read, jet sweep kind of team, a little more spread principles within their world. And then he went down 12 in the first series against Air Force. 18 comes in, is on fire. You could see him earlier in the year, not quite the confidence, ability, but not quite the confidence. Comes in against Air Force in the snow and is on fire. So they beat Air Force, unbelievable finish to the game when it looked like they had no chance in the snow. 18 has a lot of confidence. 25 cut the touchdown pass to win it. 25 is really a good punt returner. They've got really a good kicker. They come in here with a lot riding on this game, but as I mentioned, we have a lot riding on this game as well. Talk about the turnovers last year. Quite honestly, that's been a big part of our problem again this year. You know, we've turned the ball over 25 times, and that puts us about 127th in the country in number of turnovers. We turned the ball over 3 times Friday night against Boise. So we haven't got that solved. Creating turnovers, we've done a good job. We have done a good job with that. You know, we've scored on defense. We've scored with a punt return the other night. We haven't got the turnover thing solved, which makes us hot and cold on offense, makes us a little bit hit or miss. You know, we had a 9-play drive to start the game against Boise. We have the personal foul on Aaron Jenkins. We get nothing out of it. We have a 10-play drive. We score 14-7. We turn the ball over, and it's a touchdown. Not only turn it over, it was a touchdown. Then we go 14-play drive and miss a field goal. Excited about the second half. We come out and fumble the first drive of the second half. So we've been hot and cold. Looks like we can break through offensively at times, but then we just are incapable of doing it because of inconsistency. Defense, we haven't got that solved. You know, we've not really been able to stop anybody, really with the exception of UNLV, who played with their backup quarterback that day, although he's a good player. You know, we've hung in there on defense. We've hung in there on defense against some really good offensive teams, but we haven't scored enough and had enough productivity and consistency on offense. So that's kind of what it is. So who's first? Who wants to go? Steve, you want to start this off?
Sure. 11 games through the season. Do you see signs of, you know, this is going to be a program that could be turned around next season? And do you feel like you're the coach to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little premature to, you know, talk about all that. I do think that, you know, expectations are directly proportional to the commitment and the support of the program. At some point, somebody probably has to decide, have I done more with less, or have we done less with more? That's the reality of that. You know, so when you throw out a big question like that, that's a big answer to that as well. You know, it's an A through Z answer. So obviously we were 3-9 last year. We're 3-8 this year. You do have to win. You do have to win. But I go back to the broader sense, or the broader question. The bigger question, or the elephant in the room, is what are the expectations? What are the expectations based on the commitment and the support for the program? Are we doing more with less, quite honestly, even though we're 3-9 and 3-8? Certainly I have my opinion, but that's somebody else's opinion. As far as me, absolutely I plan on being back here next year. And absolutely I think I'm the best guy for the job. But in this profession, the coach isn't always the number one voter. There's other people that have to vote. So I get the big picture of it. The big picture is a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of dynamics at play. So I think there's a lot of issues that need to be discussed. This isn't the time, this isn't the place. I've never been one to do that, and I'll never will be one to do it. So again, it's a complex, not one press conference meeting. This is a roundtable with a lot of really key people involved in this discussion. But absolutely, I plan on being here next year, and I do think I'm absolutely the right guy for this job.
Coach, not the same question, but kind of along those lines. Do you
Sure.
anticipate your whole coaching staff being back next year? Or do you
know,
because I know that's hard to. Of course, you're going to do your evaluations at the end of the year, and it's probably early to ask. But I was just wondering if you anticipate any for any other reasons.
Well, you know, I think that's a complicated question too, as well. Let's look at Utah State, who was 3-9 2 years ago. They were 6-7 last year, lost the bowl game, I believe, to New Mexico State. I think they have 5 or 6 new coaches on their staff this year. That is kind of the world of the Mountain West Conference, particularly at New Mexico, where coaches aren't paid quite as much. You know, coaches are upwardly mobile too. You know, we've got coaches here that probably made more at other places that are here. So again, that's too difficult of a question to ask just in a one-word answer, yes or no. It's easy for me to stand here and just say, yeah, yes. Just like I could have answered the last question, yes, I'm the right guy for the job. I've done this long enough and have a bank of enough of experience. These are broad, big questions that take time, and there's a lot of dynamics that come in the answer. Do I like our coaching staff? Absolutely. Do I appreciate what they have been through? Absolutely, 100%.
Coach, senior day, as far as personal relationships are concerned, the guys you had at Notre Dame after the senior banquet, after the final game of the year, I'm wondering how many of those guys have you seen again to New Mexico after our banquet? You may never see any of them ever again. To you and your relationship with your players, what's the significance of senior day?
Absolutely, it's key. We don't have a banquet here. You know, this will be the second year in a row we haven't had a football banquet because of expenses, put it bluntly. So that in itself is unique across this landscape of college football. So this is kind of all in one week for us. You know, we're not going to a bowl game. We don't have a banquet. So we do it all as coaches. This is our opportunity this week to honor our players. This is our opportunity to present them with the best bowl game scenario here Saturday, which is our bowl game. But it's huge. You know, I think, you know, I wish I could stand here and go through each one of these 22 guys and give you one snippet of inside what their real journey has been. You know, just one thing. It might be good, it might be bad, but it's an amazing, amazing journey. It's an amazing journey. And you learn as much beating UTSA in a bowl game and enjoying that success, or beating Boise in Boise that year. You learn just as much when it's 55-5 down at halftime in Logan, Utah. I mean, it is an unbelievable process of good, bad, mental toughness, anger, excitement, bitterness. That's what makes this impossible to replicate, this college football journey. So with all that, when you share that with someone, that is a bond. Now, when you're 3-9 or 3-8, is everybody to a degree glad to get it over with? Absolutely. But I can tell you this, when you're 12-0, people are glad to get it over with too, because it is a long grind. And you gain relationships in that. We had 4 players in this weekend, former players, a guy named Charles Ussery, who owns the Esso Club in Clemson, South Carolina, one of the most famous college spots around the country. He played offensive line here. 3 of his offensive line buddies were here this past weekend. They ate dinner with us Thursday night, Spent a lot of time with them. They spent a lot of time with our offensive line. Here's 4 guys. 1 guy from California, 1 guy from South Carolina, 2 guys, I think, 1 from California, 2 from Texas, 1 from South Carolina, if I'm right. Here's 4 offensive linemen that played for Joe Lee Dunn in 1 year with Mike Shepard. They come back to Albuquerque, New Mexico on a Friday night to relive all those memories. And we sat up there and they told stories, and our offensive linemen sat around and told stories, and that's what college football is, and that's what this experience is. It's a little different here because you don't have as many just local guys that come from one geographical area here. It's more difficult because they all spread out. And I think that's a good example of it, was just Friday night. So look up the SO Club and look up Charles Usry, who played here. I think he went to Lees McRae Junior College. And those 4 guys came back here and enjoyed the weekend. And they talked about their journey of New Mexico football. They talked about playing Hawaii and took like 3 different legs of a commercial flight to get over to Hawaii, and how they got home after the game. And there is a certain bond, too, with guys that played at the University of New Mexico, because there's a lot of different circumstances that occur here than at some other places, to be quite honest. So I think that's a tremendous bonding experience.
Coach, on the scale of quirky, what has anything been just the ultimate, just topped anything since you've been here? Because you've blended in and watched how quirky Albuquerque is. Has there been something where you just, that's got to be Mount Rushmore of quirkiness right there?
You know, something that happened to me personally here last spring. I wouldn't put the word quirky on it, but something that was just an unbelievable thing for me personally and for my family. That would probably be tops on the list of things I just said, wow, did that really just happen? But there's been a lot of them. There's been a lot of them, and now's not the time.
You got a book coming one day?
I got enough content for that book. I got enough content for that book, and I already have the title for that book, too. I really do.
You don't want to share the title?
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. We good? Yeah, sure.
You know, the problem we've had for the last few years has been quarterback, and you're probably tired of people saying, who's going to start, who's going to start? And I'm just wondering, you got Tavaka, you got Jones, you got Hall. Are you still looking for another quarterback?
We are, but we're not taking one. We've kind of pinpointed 1 or 2 that we think can come in here and compete for the job and maybe win the job. I expect dramatic improvement at that quarterback position. Dramatic improvement. I really do. I think Sharon Jones, I think the upside for him is really high. Tavaka Toyota, will he be healthy? Will he be healthy? Because he clearly is talented. You guys haven't seen him yet. You haven't had a chance to really see him play. You've been teased by him just a little bit. You haven't seen him. He's good. And then the young freshman is really not a freshman because he stayed up with the varsity all year. If we can add one that could come in here and be a true operator and put pressure and add more competition at that position, we would take one. But I expect dramatic improvement at that quarterback position. Sharon Jones will start at quarterback. You know, we're excited about Bryson Carroll. Not so much at quarterback, but at tailback. You know, he may be, when the dust settles, that next home run hitter here as the tailback. You know, he's an exciting young guy, and we're so fortunate that we could redshirt him this year with that 4-game rule after you knew what happened last year. So, again, it's not always as bad as it seems. It's not always as good as it seems. There were some positives. I mean, Marcus Hayes, a redshirt freshman, taking the punt back 85. He's the #1 punt returner in the country right now. You know, we don't have to go get a kicker. We don't have to go get a punter. Quarterback situation solid. We have to get a defense, though. We have to, you know, at some point. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Coach, one more, please.
You got it.
Am I being unethical, unfair? A Zach Gentry, would he have helped your program?
Well, I mean, yeah, but to get Zach Gentry to come to New Mexico, there's a lot of dynamics involved in that. Back to the question that Steve answered. Absolutely he would. But that's just a wild statement right now as far as would that guy that had the chance to go somewhere else, would he stay and play here? Would he stay and play here? That's the question, right? Maybe the same question if there's that great student, that top of the class, #1 in engineering, has all the mass in the sciences. Would that great student stay here and go to UNM? That's the bigger picture. That is the bigger picture. But obviously, yeah, I mean, but a lot of things have to happen. A lot of things, you know, to get that kid. Not only that kid, but the kids that are going other places. You know, that's an extreme example there. Right? All right, guys. Thank you.